Hi everyone, my name is Simon and today I'm sharing with you a new rendering teardown. So today we're dealing with this kind of unconventional image because this is just a, well, simple, not simple, but just a furniture, which is kind of interesting. So a couple of things I'm going to say are going to be dealing with composition, texturing, and the usual HSV checkup. So first, let's talk about a little bit of composition. What is interesting in this image is that although it is well composed in terms of like balance and the usual, like the rule of third or something like that is sort of okay, there's just something that I'm kind of wondering is that although I'm a big fan of frontal views, but when you're dealing with furniture, I'm kind of, yeah, I'm not sure it's the best way to like sell a product or like show or understand this sort of model. So I would usually go with like a more of an isometric view or something like that. But besides that, I think the composition is okay. It's like well centered, and at least it's something quite strong. So that's sort of what you're looking for when you're dealing with an image this simple. You have to have like a really simple concept. So I guess that's what we have here. What we're going to talk about as well, I think, is the texturing. Basically, when you're dealing with an image this simple and like doing a close-up of an image of a model, there's two things you have to be really careful with, which are basically first the modeling of the object, and second the texturing. So in terms of modeling, I think it's pretty nice. We all have like this sort of interesting small details, the little thingy here. So basically, it's in terms of modeling, I think it's good. There's one thing I'm not really sure about is the texturing. There are a couple of things that are kind of a little bit confusing. The first one is the seat. Basically, as you can see, well, not see actually, is that it seems like there's no texture at all. Like it's not canvas, it's not leather, it's kind of hard to understand what's this. And the thing is, it's even more like it's the contrast between this sort of an identified texture and this like comprehensible texture here that makes it a little bit odd. So I would suggest adding like a more defined texture to the seat. The other thing I'm kind of wondering, and I might be wrong, but still, I think it would be interesting. Like in terms of logic, usually when you're doing like when you cutting like a wood board to do your the different parts of your chair, for example, you're gonna have your wood board doing sort of like that, and you're gonna cut this part. And here you're not gonna have like the board here is gonna be this way, and the board here is gonna be this way, etc. So what I want to emphasize here is the idea that the veins of the wood should follow the like the length of the actual object. It has two reasons. The first one is that in terms of economy, that's how you're gonna actually cut your wood, and the other thing is that in terms of structure or like elasticity, if you cut it that way, it's going to break, whereas if you cut it this way, it's going to bend, which is sort of what you're looking for, because otherwise it's not structurally good. So, and I think it would add quite a bit interesting in details to get some sort of more variations in how the veins are oriented. Beside that, I think one other thing that could be interesting is how, like, these joints here could be a little bit more like deep like just to get this sort of you can actually see it, but I think I would emphasize it just a little bit. But beside that, I think we're pretty good on the texturing. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the usual HSV and color checking. First thing first, in terms of contrast, I think there's a little bit, like, as you can see when you put it in black and white, there's like the value of the grays are basically all the same between the wood and the background. So I would suggest maybe emphasizing a little bit the contrast and maybe trying to make the object stand out a little bit more from the background. What you could actually do is maybe use, like, usually what is working when you're doing a close-up like that, but you're maybe not close enough, but it's just do some sort of DOF, so have like your background a little bit blurred out. So that's something you could try. In terms of saturation, there's nothing much to say, I guess. I think it's quite balanced, and it does make sense in terms of general homogeneity of the saturation. One thing I'm sort of more interested in would be the colors. So the problem I have here, as you can see, is that not only the contrast was a little bit off, and the chair didn't stand out that much, but as you can see in terms of colors, everything is the same. Like if I put this filter here, you can see that the hue is basically orange everywhere, except of the blue seat and the sort of like green fringing here. So what I would suggest would be to actually use a mask, use saturation adjustment layer to sort of decrease the overall saturation of the background, so that you get the feel that it is an actual, like, sort of raw concrete here, and that that way this actually stands out much more. As you can see, you can still like group this and maybe just give back a little bit of color at the bottom, like near this sort of light ray of light, but still I would be really subtle about that. One tiny thing that I forgot to mention is also that we get a little bit of tiling happening here, as you can see in the concrete. So just be careful with that, because it's a little bit too much visible. And beside that, I think we're good. As you can see, it's not much of a change, but I think it does make the chair stand out a little bit more, and that's, I think, what you're sort of supposed to be interested in. So yeah, I guess I'll stop that there, and just tell you that we'll see each other in the next rendering teardown video. Thank you for listening, guys, and see you next time. Bye.